On this episode, we learn about the Safe Streets Coalition in New Haven, Connecticut. Then we look at sustainable transportation at Yale University. We learn about Danvers Bi-Peds in Danvers, Massachusetts. And finally, we look at rails with trails in Rhode Island. Stay tuned.
We're in New Haven, Connecticut, talking with Doug House-Layton, who's with the Downtown Worcester Square Community Management Team. What is this CMT?
Well, in New Haven, we have our geography split up into 12 community management teams. They are in charge of quality of life and public safety issues for the region. So as a CMT, we meet monthly in a public forum with our partners in the police department, and we go over safety, traffic issues, as well as crime issues and how to do crime prevention, as well as quality of life issues as well.
And what sort of concerns do community members express? What are they worried about?
Well, in 2010, we launched a quality of life survey for our community management teams. We were able to launch it citywide and have over 1,300 responses. The number one response we found was actually traffic issues. People were concerned mainly with their the ability to cross the street and feel safe riding their bicycles and walking on the sidewalks. And so as a community management teams, we've been joining together and as advocates and trying to get better traffic safety policy in New Haven, Connecticut.
And you also have a coalition that deals with these issues. What's your coalition?
Well, the New Haven Safe Streets Coalition was formed in 2008 after the death of Mila Rainoff at the Yale New Haven Hospital. She was tragically killed while crossing the street as a pedestrian after leaving the emergency room and working. After Mila's death, groups came together to form the New Haven Safe Streets Coalition, and we formed a petition to call for 95% reductions in accidents and deaths on our streets. And since then, we've been advocating for better policy. So in 2008, we were able to pass the Complete Streets legislation in the city of New Haven. And we've since then helped with our partners at Elm City Cycling and other advocacy groups in New Haven, as well as the Department of Transportation, Traffic, and Parking. Through a partnership, we've developed the Complete Streets Manual. We have a great design manual now that is calling on our economic development team to use complete streets design practices when they're putting in development projects.
Now, quite a number of places around the country are adopting complete streets policies, but what is a complete streets policy?
Well, a complete streets policy is simply put, building a road that is not just for a single use of automobile traffic. So we're trying to have bicycles, pedestrians, people that are parking their cars, walking and going shopping to feel comfortable, as well as drivers and everybody in a safe fashion. We don't believe that high speeds lead to good quality of life, nor do they actually lead to getting there faster in a lot of cases. In our city, it just means you're going to get to the next red light faster. That's all it means.
And talking about 95% reduction in casualties, what has to go into making something like that happen? Where do you get started?
Well, a lot of people think it's impossible, and we look to Europe and other countries for models of traffic policy in order to create this safe zones for pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers, all users of the road. It's a three-pronged approach. You've got enforcement, you have education, and you have infrastructure. Now, some are easy fixes. You can use traffic calming measures with paint. Simple additions of paint on the road could help slow traffic. Of course, everybody knows about speed bumps, but what people don't know about are the more progressive ways of using chicanes, of using roundabouts, of using bump outs, of using angled parking, rear angled parking for different ways of controlling cars on the street. And so for the infrastructure piece, a lot of cities will fight because it's hard to spend that money. It is to make the repairs that are necessary. But in a complete street, those that have houses on the street tend to see a property value increase. And so one interesting way that West Hartford is using right now is the property owners that are on the street that are being redesigned are sharing in the burden of the cost, and they're also obviously reaping the rewards by their property values increasing even greater. So the infrastructure is important. It is the most important. When we design roads for 50 miles an hour, we're going to get 50 mile an hour traffic. And if we design roads for 25 mile an hour, we're going to get 25 mile an hour traffic. The other thing we called for in 2008 was the reduction of traffic speeds down to 20 or 15 miles an hour in our great commercial districts, like the one we're standing in right here. This intersection behind us at Church and Chapel is one of the busiest intersections in our city. The New Haven Safe Streets Coalition thinks that lower traffic speeds will actually lead to a higher quality of life, better return for their retail customers in the district, and an overall better city. So the other part is the education piece. In 2008, the New Haven Safe Streets Coalition came together with partners in City Cycling, partners at the Yale Medical Traffic Safety Group, partners at the Yale New Haven Hospital, the Transportation, Traffic, and Parking Department, and formed the Street Smarts campaign. We redesigned our entire education portion of the solution, and launched the Street Smarts manual recently, as well as the Street Smarts bike manual. So we have, if you look around the cars today, maybe we can see one as they drive by, you'll see a Street Smart triangle on our car. That's the brand new logo. And so we've been working to increase the education as well. Because it's not just education of drivers, it's also education of cyclists to bike correctly. It's also education of pedestrians to walk correctly, and to make sure that everybody is safe and maintained in a safe environment. And the third piece, of course, is enforcement. In 2008, we called for drastic increases in enforcement of red light running. We called for speed reductions on our streets. We called for even enforcement and education in jaywalking, and for all users. Of course, all users need to learn more and make sure that they follow the rules. In 2009, we saw a 60% increase in our traffic motor vehicle violations were issued by the New Haven PD. Not only did that increase the safety for pedestrian users, but also gun seizures went up by 60%. So there's also a side effect of police officers enforcing the law and pulling over speeders and red light runners as well.
What's going on today?
Today we're doing a red means stop party. At the red light sessions behind us, we are going out and trying to educate the motorists that are driving today in the rush hour traffic. During a red light all walk phase, we're heading out with, obviously we're wearing red, and we have some signs that say red means stop, and we're trying to help educate motorists even more to the perils of red light running. What people don't understand is that red light running not only affects the intersection where it happens, it has a ripple effect of everyone around them. If people are less inclined to walk, they're less inclined to go shopping, they're less inclined to get out on the street, they're less inclined to find the crime themselves. It's less of a community is built when we avoid our streets. And so today we're just trying to promote some walking and to promote some safe driving as well.
Now, red light running, it's a cultural thing that people do. They obey a very simple safety rule. You stop for red. Mm-hmm. There's an enforcement angle, but police can't be everywhere.
Right.
How can you enforce red light running?
Sure. Yeah. The way that I've been advocating for over the last few years, along with partners in the New Haven Safe Streets Coalition, another coalition, the Connecticut Livable Streets Campaign, and other members in downtown, what we've been advocating for is the use of intersection safety cameras. And exactly like you said, John, you can't have a police officer at every intersection, especially in our densely populated urban centers. To have a police officer actually chase a red light runner is more dangerous than the red light runner himself. And so what we're calling for is sensible, safe, smart, electronic enforcement of red light cameras. Not everywhere. We don't want to be a camera state, but at the same time, we've seen the studies from the IIHS, the
Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
Thank you. In fact, the most recent one, which has a 14% reduction, I believe, in fatalities in major cities. But what we've seen is the ripple effect of intersection safety cameras is not only do they reduce violations at the intersection, but they have a ripple effect at 2 and 3 and 4 blocks away. So suddenly you have the ability to cross the street for vulnerable users to get across the street in a timely fashion. And so that's what we're advocating for, is for municipalities that think they need it to have the ability in Connecticut to install red light cameras, intersection safety cameras with proper signage, with built-in affirmative defenses, and people have a big fear of Big Brother and a lot of issues with intersection safety cameras. But I urge people to check them out again. Please take another look. They're not intrusive. They actually are lower lower risks of violation of your Fourth Amendment rights, and they're very fair and even, and they drastically increase pedestrian safety on the roads.
We're in New Haven, Connecticut, talking with Michael Morand, who's with Yale's Office of Public Affairs and Communications. What is the Yale Homebuyer Program?
The Yale Homebuyer Program was started by Rick Levin, our president, back in 1994 as a way to both strengthen our hometown of New Haven. We've been in New Haven for 3 centuries, as well as to support Yale employees, faculty and staff both, and encourage them to live in New Haven and own their own homes. It's a wonderful program because it both benefits employees and, importantly, strengthens the community that we all call home.
And what actually happens in the program?
The program provides a subsidy to any faculty or staff member. It's $5,000 up front and $2,500 a year, every year for up to 10 years, so a total benefit of $30,000 if they buy a home in New Haven and have it as their primary residence. And that's a major subsidy. We've had enormous success. We've had almost 1,000 employees, 974 total since 1994, and it's also helped the New Haven housing market rebound in the 90s, and importantly helped it in the recent economic downturn not suffer the same negative consequences that we saw in many other urban centers. So it's been good at accelerating the uptick and making sure that we were more resilient than most communities in the recent downturn.
Now, in terms of the employees, they're now in town, presumably closer to the university than they'd be if they were way out in the suburbs somewhere. How does that impact them?
It's great. Again, I think it's great for the institution. It's great for families. New Haven itself is one of the best places, I think, for commuters to live. Our region, we have a very low average commute time, even for those coming in from the suburbs. And we have a very high percentage, almost a third of all people who work in New Haven, including at the university, come by bike or by foot. And so obviously having a shorter commute time is great. You've got more time at home with your family, other civic activities. And it's also good for the university because we are not an 8:30 to 5 or 9 to 5 full stop place. We're a 24/7 institution. People work in various different occupations. And we very much want faculty and staff engaged with the life, not only in whatever their particular occupation may be, but enjoying the cultural amenities and participating in the life of this place. So it's really nice to have people close by, and I think people enjoy it being close by, and it's obviously less cost going into gas and other things with a longer commute. And it also makes for a much livelier community. It's really quite wonderful to be in a town where at the commute times it's not only lines of cars, and in fact there's not as much lines of cars as other places, but it's happy mixed groups of people walking, biking, and getting on university shuttles.
And you talked about the number of people that walk and bike. What have the university and the city been able to do to encourage that?
We are an old city and a highly urbanized city. We've got a street grid that wasn't built for cars. So we've got challenges in terms of accommodating cars and vehicles along with pedestrians, just as every other place does. I'd say we don't have quite the street widths as other places, so our infrastructure is actually inherently pedestrian friendly because it was built for pedestrians and for people on horseback. So we start with a good infrastructure. Like a lot of places, our community saw through urban renewal and other things primacy of the car and the kind of infrastructure that went along with that, which isn't always so friendly to pedestrians. So the city has really done a good job at taking the lead, and they obviously are the lead, but with university, business community, and citizen support at repairing some of the damage done during the days of urban renewal that gave too much primacy to the car, and bringing in and best practices learned from elsewhere. We also have on staff a coordinator of sustainable transportation so that we communicate actively to faculty and staff what their options are in terms of mass transit, promote things like bike safety, celebrate those who bike and walk to work. So there's a variety of things done, and I think one of the reasons it's working in New Haven is it's not only one group or sector. The city is very vigorous and has a very active both policy in terms of its city planning and a very big promotional campaign to celebrate pedestrian safety and cycling. And then many organizations, both nonprofit institutions like Yale, the business community, and perhaps most importantly, we have a really vigorous citizen activist community around pedestrian safety and around cycling. So all of that together, I think, has created the momentum that we're enjoying in New Haven right now.
And you have used to be a canal, then it was a railroad. What is it now?
Yeah, we had a canal, as a few other places. Canals didn't last very long. It was turned into a railroad, was an active railroad, I guess, until the 60s or 70s, and then was an abandoned railroad right away. It goes all the way up to Farmington, Connecticut, goes 40 miles through the heart of Connecticut. And going back more than a decade, a bunch of citizen activists pushed to have all along that way the Farmington Canal rails to trails, the Farmington Canal Greenway done as part of an overall nationwide, and very active in the New England Greenway Alliance. And it's almost done. There are still a few little spots. There's some work still to be completed in New Haven, a couple finishing blocks. Interestingly, Yale is the only non-public owner of any stretch of that. There are 2 blocks that go through campus that are owned by the university, but they are also part of the overall public greenway. So while we own them and maintain and have the liability, they are part of the overall access. And that's been a great thing. It connects up the downtown of New Haven with a number of inner neighborhoods in the city, and then goes out to the suburbs and to farther out areas. And we have grown as a university and helped populate a former industrial area of New Haven, the old Winchester gun plant, which was vacant for many decades and has now come back to life with a lot of biotech and other startup companies, as well as a number of university offices. And one of the things that's wonderful is the Canal Greenway goes from the center of campus and the center of downtown the few blocks out to that area. So it's a great amenity, not only for recreational walking, but for people who are going back and forth between parts of campus, and obviously also a great amenity in terms of cyclists who commute into town from the northern suburbs.
Universities talk to each other about what's going on. What have you been able to teach other universities, or what have other universities been able to learn from you in terms of some of the things you've done for walking and bicycling on?
There is a lot of shared practices. Universities, hopefully as institutions, not only teach, they learn. We have established a coordinator of sustainable transportation, and having somebody on staff, I think, is something that we share with others. Is worthwhile to have a point person so that it's not something that's owned as a secondary agenda by lots of people. It's important that everybody be involved in such an effort and see what they can do, but it's really nice to have a catalyst and point person on it. We've obviously learned from others in terms of strategies that they've done in planning. We share those as well, and have a lot of work over within our overall sustainability initiative in talking to other campuses. And not only here in this country, we have really tried to work hard with other global universities in Europe and Asia and in other places to learn and to share our own best practices. And the homebuyer program itself has been one that's been picked up. University of Southern California, for example, has a very vigorous program that they've instituted out in LA for their faculty and staff. So that's one that we've had a lot of different universities take a look at whether they can do something similar or something along the same lines.
We're in Danvers, Massachusetts, talking with Bob Rogers, who's with Danvers Bi-Peds. What is Danvers Bi-Peds?
Danvers Bi-Peds is an organization that's concerned with safety and accessibility for, first of all, just plain sidewalks, and secondly, we're trying to get rail trails built. There are a lot of them in the area, but we're in the process of getting one built in Danvers. It's just the fact that people need to be able to get out and walk and do it safely and not drive around to go downtown. I don't happen to walk. I happen to do what I call rolling. So my wife and I will go out and walk and roll. And it's just much more pleasant when the sidewalk is reasonably clear and reasonably safe. And it's a lot better than getting into the car, driving downtown, and going into the restaurant, and getting back out and driving back. We like to do as much as possible getting around, walking and rolling.
What sort of problems are there with the sidewalks in town that make them a little more difficult for you to use?
Well, probably the biggest problem for a wheelchair are the sidewalk cuts. They're there by law, but they very often, especially after a bad winter like we've just recently had, they become very rutted. They become off angle when the snow plows come through and knock off a chunk of the cut to go up onto the sidewalk or down onto the sidewalk. You have to be very careful not to get wheels caught up in them. And generally speaking, I look at it from the point of view of a wheelchair, and what would be okay for somebody walking is a little bit tricky for me. The worst thing is to have to stop and have somebody else come along and help me get over a bad spot. My wife has to do it all the time. It's very interesting that people will come along and offer to help, and she always says, no, we'll have to do it because you're not going to be able to come home with me.
So when strangers come and offer to help you, they're always well-meaning, but do they always know what needs to be done to be, safe and effective in helping someone in a wheelchair?
I'm sure what it is that they see a woman helping somebody, and there's that feeling that maybe I should help. But no, they usually don't know what to do, and we get along pretty well. But you hate to just, so she has developed this answer that kind of puts a little humor into it. No, you can't come home with me, so we're going to have to do what we can do. The important thing is that I want to get out onto the streets, onto the sidewalks, and move around as much as possible. I need exercise just as much as anybody needs it. When I first got put into this wheelchair, I got up to 281 pounds. I'm now down to 195, 200, and I'm going to keep it there.
And when you're out with your wife, what advantages does a rail trail offer the two of you?
Well, rail trails, because they're on what were formerly railroad beds, obviously, were built to be as level as possible to make it easy for them to haul tremendous amounts of freight. And they are also as straight as possible. This makes it easy. No steep hills to go up, and so I don't have to get way behind or have help being pushed up. And then in the steep downhills, I go way out in front of everybody. So rail trails, and I've used a lot of them, are very, very nice. They also seem to be in areas that are interesting. They do sometimes go through folks' backyards, but a lot of them go along swamps and wooded areas, and it's almost like a nature walk in many cases.
And the Bi-Peds group is working on something called the Sidewalk Report Card.
Yes.
What's that all about? How are you going to use it?
Well, the head of our group came up with the idea that we should, if we could get some kids involved in looking at sidewalks and talking to their parents about it, that perhaps this would raise everybody's awareness of sidewalks. And we've come up with a sidewalk report card. We're going to try it in one of the schools this spring. Each class will rate the sidewalk in front of their school using a form that's similar to the report cards that they get, grades and a little bit of narrative. And then they're going to pick another place to do, maybe in front of their home, or maybe a place where they do the sidewalk quite often. And things like, as I mentioned, places where the sidewalk has become rutted, or where trees or limbs have grown over the sidewalk, and especially where things have been maybe roughened up by a bad winter. These are the things that I think the kids will notice even more than their parents will. And we're hoping to get some other projects, maybe little stories they're going to write about it, do photographs. And the school that's going to be doing with us, we're lucky the principal is very excited about it. And I think it'll be fun.
We're in Albion, Rhode Island, next to the Blackstone River Bikeway. When it's finished, the bikeway will connect Providence, Rhode Island with Worcester, Massachusetts. It's also part of the East Coast Greenway running from Maine to Florida. This particular stretch of the bikeway shares a right-of-way with an active rail line. In the United States, there are an awful lot of rail to trail conversions, but there's tremendous potential for rails with trails. Pedestrians take the shortest route to their destination. That's just human nature. And if the shortest route is along a rail line, pedestrians will tend to ignore the no trespassing signs and take it anyway. But walking along a rail line is inherently uncomfortable. You have gravel ballast, you have ties. If you could create a route that was just as convenient and easier to walk on, pedestrians would take it. And what's just as convenient and easier to walk on? A paved trail parallel to the gravel and ballast of the rail. There's tremendous potential to increase convenience and safety of pedestrians with a lot more rails with trails.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.